Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 180th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and this week we are going back to Jamaica. On October 28th of 2025, Hurricane Melissa, as a strong Category 5, the third strongest on record in the Caribbean, made landfall on the southern coast of Jamaica and tore across the entire island. Now, it wasn't the entire island that was directly affected, but a 10-mile streak through the entire island really took the brunt. Jamaica is my home away from home. As you know, I went 5 times last year. So I knew that I needed to get there as soon as possible. The week following Hurricane Melissa, the news, social media, the major networks, I didn't know what to expect. It was worst case scenario. And I didn't know when it would be open for visitors. I had a really good friend who was actually on the island and could not get off. She was at Beaches and a Grill where I had been just 3 weeks before with my family. She was there with her family and didn't know when she would be able to leave. But I was able to get really, really important updated information from her point of view, not just what I was seeing on the news. And it was comforting. It helped balance out everything that I saw of complete hopelessness and devastation with there is going to be hope. The island is going to be open and welcome for visitors sooner than it looked like it would be able to be. But I knew I needed to get there myself. I thought it would be later on this year. I told Logan as soon as it happened, I was like, it may be January, it may be February. But if we get the opportunity, we need to go. We need to be there. And not just because Jamaica is my number one destination that I book and plan for, but because I have friends there. I have made connections, and I just knew that I needed to be there to see whatever I could do, what I could offer to help in any way. And I knew that I was supposed to be there. Just a few weeks later, I received an invitation to go back to Jamaica the week before my birthday in December and to help open up the resorts and help them to be ready for when guests were coming that weekend. Because even though some of the resorts are not going to be open until later this year, there are several that were able to reopen in December. And if you know anything about tourism in the Caribbean, and Jamaica in particular, it is not just for fun, it's a way of life. Hospitality is key to the economy in most of the Caribbean, and that is not untrue for Jamaica. So even though they were going to be in the rebuilding phase, it was going to be really difficult to rebuild stronger than ever if tourism was not coming back. And so they wanted tourism to come back. They wanted, to show that they were ready. They wanted to show that the media didn't show the entire story of Jamaica. It showed the days, the week afterwards, but not a month later, and how much progress had been made, how not all parts of the island were affected the same way, and they really wanted to get the word out. So about 280 top travel advisors throughout the U.S., Canada, even the UK, throughout the Caribbean and Latin America were invited to come. And so we went, and it was a celebration for returning to Jamaica. So I am so grateful for that experience. And we stayed in Sandals Duns River, and I could not ask for a better birthday trip than to be able to go back to Jamaica the week before. So I'm going to share that experience with you, all of you today. So when we arrived in Montego Bay, which is the major airport in Jamaica for tourists, I had just seen, weeks before where it looked like the entire airport had been destroyed. And again, there is a section that of the older section of the airport that got a lot of damage. And that's what you kept seeing if you saw on TikTok or you saw on Facebook or you saw on media, where there was no roof in part of it, or there's flooding. And that is true, but that was one small section of the airport. It wasn't the entire airport. And they worked like night and day to get that cleaned up and repaired. The runway was in excellent condition. And so we arrived back into Montego Bay Airport, and it didn't look any different from where we were sitting than it did when we went in October before the hurricane. The drive to the resort was the part I was most nervous about. I didn't know what I was going to see and how much damage there would be. And there's some trees down. 80% at this point of the electricity and water had been restored to the island, and they were actively working, repairing power lines. But you could just see there's so much that had already been done. Reefs were being repaired. You still saw some blue tarps, but there's so much that had been done that I had not expected to have been done yet. And by the time we arrived to the resort itself, if you had just gone straight there, you would never have even never have known that a Category 5 hurricane had been there a month before. And it's a testament to how strong Sandals builds their resorts. Because the first impressions, not only were the people so excited, and when I say the people in Jamaica, hands down, know hospitality. Just like we in Mississippi are the hospitality state, if they had a title for their island, which they do, it's one love, one love, one people, it would be hospitality, the hospitality house of the Caribbean. That is Jamaica. So I think that's why Mississippi and Jamaica get along so well. Like Mississippians and Jamaicans really connect. And it's because we agree on this love of hospitality. And we have a lot in common. The resort first impressions, not only was I just blown away by getting to see the people and the spirit of positivity and resilience. It wasn't one of defeat. It was one of like, we're going to not only survive, but we are going to thrive. And we are thriving. And there's warm smiles. The resort was decorated for Christmas beautifully. I mean, it was amazing. It was like Christmas had come, to the Caribbean. And I loved being there. We had a welcome party where everything was impeccable. Food was fantastic. The company was fantastic. I could not turn around without someone asking me if I needed something or if I had everything I needed. It was humbling because I went wanting to help serve Jamaica, and they were still looking to help me and make sure that my stay was the amazing experience that it was. The next day was truly telling, because we went off property. There were some that chose to do a catamaran ride. There are others that went and played golf, and the golf course there, stunning. And we decided to do an excursion we had never done before. We went to Mystic Mountain. I'm like, okay, let's see how it actually looks outside the resorts, because that's going to be important for guests coming to Jamaica. Are we going to be able to do anything off property, or are we going to have to stay just on the resort? And we went to Mystic Mountain, and it was amazing. We went bobsledding. I was really nervous about this. I love the movie Cool Runnings. When I think of Jamaica, I think of bobsledding, and I've never done it. I've been to Jamaica 16 plus times, and had never bobsled until this last time. And Logan and I had so much fun. We did it 3 times. It was not what I expected, where it was going to be like an open track and, I could, go off the side. It was more of like a mountain coaster track, which made it much more fun for me. Like it took the risk factor down for me, and I enjoyed it. We also did a ragamuffin ride. You just have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. But let's just say bobsledding was not the thrill intense ride that the Ragamuffin was. That was more intense. I wasn't even expecting. We did the Sky Explorer, which is like a chairlift through the mountains. And then we went ziplining. Now, I am not going to tell you about the zipline experience. You're just going to have to go to my Facebook group, Heather and Logan Tate Whimsical Destinations, to see for yourself. Type in ziplining, and you won't be disappointed. So that's all I'm going to say about that. You're welcome, Logan. Later that night, we did a dine around the resort, celebrated my birthday a little bit early with friends, and we went to the Rum Bar, which is one of the best in the Caribbean. And our next day was our big event where Adam Stewart, who is the executive chairman of Sandals Resorts, and so many special guests, from airlines to the CEO of Montego Bay to the CEO of the Sandals Foundation, which was really an amazing experience to get to hear how the focus is on Jamaica, not about one individual resort company, but it's about how the country of Jamaica is going to build back stronger than ever before. And we got to hear a children's choir from children from local schools came and they sang to us. And if that wasn't the most powerful moment of the entire trip, I can't tell you what was, because it was. There were very few dry eyes because everyone was just so moved by the spirit of hope that was there. 80% of the hotels, resorts, by the end of January are going to be back and an open and welcoming guest. Would I feel confident sending my guests to Jamaica? 100%. More now than ever before. I would say I feel confident my guests going there and having an amazing experience. The other thing that we got to do while we were there is we did what was called Pack for Purpose, where we were able to bring backpacks and school supplies, but we also were able to pack Christmas stockings that were going to go to all of the schools for every boy and girl to have a stocking filled with not only school supplies and, some, hygiene items, but also some special toys and like stuffed animals or pieces of costume jewelry, diaries, puzzles, games, things to make it fun, candy, where it was going to be all about them. And that was such a rewarding experience. We ended with a beach party. And I will tell you the highlight of the beach party. The food was fantastic. We had great entertainment, wonderful talks from everyone that was there at the event, how special this event was. But the highlight for me was at night with this full moon shining on the water right by the sea. And then you see these boats, these small local fishermen boats coming and bringing their live catch, their fish, their lobster that they just caught and they brought for our beach dinner to say thank you for coming and for being here, but showing that there's so much about tourism that's not just about the destination where you're staying, not just a hotel, but the island itself is impacted. Everywhere from the taxi drivers, the shuttle drivers, the excursions, the people who work there, but also the farmers and the fishermen and those who are providing every aspect of the experience, that their income, the economy of Jamaica, is wrapped up in tourism. So it's not just the resort that benefits, it's the entire island that benefits. And that was so eye-opening there. So my closing remarks, I hope to go back to Jamaica later, this winter or early spring. I don't know if I'll be able to go 5 times this year, but, I wouldn't say no, because it is one of my favorite places, not only in the Caribbean, but on earth. And a part of my heart is there. But I also then want to help so many people who have never been to Jamaica get to go and experience it for themselves, because it's life-changing. And it's not about sitting on the beach with a coconut in your hand and looking at the beautiful water, the beautiful turquoise water. It's not just about the reggae music and the rhythm. It's about the heartbeat of the island, which is the people. The people are what make Jamaica so special. And until you meet them, it's kind of like people who don't understand Mississippi. right? You don't always understand Mississippi. Or Mississippi, I would say, in some ways, is the most misunderstood state in the entire country until you go here, until you meet the people, and then you see what we're all about. And I feel like Jamaica has that in common with us. That is all the time we have for this week. I want to leave you with Jamaica is open and ready for guests. And if you would like to go for your first time or your 15th or any time in between, I would love to help you. Wherever you go this year, life is a great adventure. And think about how when you go somewhere, it's not just about checking somewhere off of a bucket list. You're making an impact. When you travel anywhere, your tourism dollars are bettering the economy. So you know what? It's a great thing to travel. And the more you travel, that's a way that you can give back to the places that you're going. So go the places that will appreciate that the most. Happy traveling.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.